Going straight to Kano State. We have reports that Kano State Commissioner of Police CP Salman Garba has on Thursday raised concerns over increased cases of culpable homicide resulting from fighting, stabbing with knives, drowning in water, and flood-related deaths in the state. CP Garba, who made this known in a statement issued by spokesperson SP Abdullahi Haruna, said the alarming trend has resulted in the loss of precious lives, leaving families and communities devastated. Now, he said that the command has swung into action by increasing patrols and surveillance in high-risk areas and also engaging with community leaders as well as stakeholders to address the root causes of the disturbing trend. CP Garba, however, urged the residents to exercise caution and restraint from violent behaviors in their daily interactions to prevent occurrence and reoccurrence of the incidents. What could be causing this? Why the rise and why now? Is there something that is going on now that could have led to this, that the police would actually, mention that there have been a rise, especially recently, and then calling the attention of the Kano State people and the people of Nigeria to this particular trend? But let's get the thought of George on this one. First off, George.
Well, the question of crime and insecurity is a big question. It's a question for all Nigerians. And the issue here in Kano State is a reminder that we need to take our security very seriously. And security is the business of all Nigerians, especially at the grassroots level. I'm happy with the steps that the Commissioner of Police and the Police Command is taking in terms of community engagements, engagement with other stakeholders to ensure that the root causes, I'm so happy to hear them talk about the root causes, because that's what I advocate a lot for. I talk so much about the root causes because security is a very important business and you cannot leave it to just one stakeholder. So there must be a joint effort. And there will always be security issues, and a lot of factors will be responsible that will drive insecurity. Hunger, poverty, social injustice, and so many factors can be responsible for insecurity. But with the practical steps being taken and working together with the people right there in the community, it is going to help to curtail and mitigate the security threats.
Do you see any particular thing in question being the reason for the rise, especially recently? Okay, Chuku, let's hear you.
Yeah, I think Kano State has been drawn seriously along political lines. So if you look at it holistically, it's a combination of factors. Looking at it from the political angle, looking at it from the hunger and anger angle also. If you know Kano State very well, because of the tension in Kano that stemmed from the last governorship election, how everything panned out, that the matter even had to go to Supreme Court, and in one of the cases, they even had to deliver a virtual judgment just to forestall breakdown of law and order. And at one point, Kano State was also, they had curfew in Kano. So this could be politically motivated as a result of anger. But for the police, what they need to do at this point is to identify some of these flashpoints, intensify security patrol, then also engage the community. And the community should also engage the families, because whether you like it or not, everything begins from the family. Where the advocacy will go down, talk to the people, engage them, let them know the dangers of what they are doing, because these are not animals that are being killed on a daily basis. These are human beings, and they come from home. So let's see how they can nip this in the bud. Taking this step, it's a good thing, but another thing also is to follow it up to a logical conclusion so that it sees the daylight of fulfillment and the aims and objective of it will be actualized.
Okay, since you already took it down to the family, let's trace it down now. Talking about the family, what role do you think that the family can play in curbing this reoccurrence of insecurity in our society?
Well, we all come from homes. We know that virtues are instilled at home. That's where the foundation is being laid. Even the Bible says, if the foundation is faulty, what could the righteous do? So once they miss it at that home training level, the school and the church or even the mosque has little or nothing to do. But once that virtue has been instilled in children at home, they know their do's, they know their don'ts, and they also know the consequences of every action or inaction. I think that will also nip most of these things in the bud.
All right, a lot of times we have that training that is required from the home, but we still see people going a different way after a while. So how much hold do you think the family has in this narrative?
A lot. The family is very responsible, and they are responsible for a lot of things. And how you raise your child. Some children are not raised. They raise themselves. And there's absence of fathers in their life, most of them from broken homes. So there's an implication. When you have a child growing up in a broken home, it affects the child, both mentally, socially, and in all aspects. And it will take a lot to build that child. So the absence of fatherhood, or the absence of fathers in the home, it produces a lot of bad results and bad cases that we're experiencing today. Many of the people you see that are becoming social nuisance, we call them misfit or whatever name you want to call them. Most of them, they are not well raised, or they don't want to even go through that process.
Is it just about the fathers? What about the mothers?
The mothers too, they play a role, very important. The mothers play a lot of role, but there should be a home. It's not just made up of blocks and block and cement. It's not just the building. A family is built up by the parents, both the father, the mother, even family members all come together to raise a child. Raising a child is not left for one person alone. That's why even the religious institution help to shape, mold, and produce, the kind of children that we all desire. Responsible, diligent, hardworking children. So the role of the family is is so significant that you cannot joke with it. And most of the young people that are involved in crimes and criminality and violence, most of them learn it from their houses, from the home. Because maybe, take it for example, a person who is stealing, who is a criminal, right from when he was in primary school, he goes to school and he steals pencil, he steals pen, and some parents will say, leave him, he's just a child. He's just a child that sentenced a lot of people into crime and criminal behavior.
Even children have been arrested.
Good. So when the parent fails to discipline the child or correct the child, I'm not saying the parent should flog and, some parents become so excessive and wicked and they want to beat the child, abuse the child. No, but there should be parental control and correction. The other day I was, coming to the studio here, and a woman was complaining that she can't control her child again. He's always pressing his phone. And even when she wants to take the phone from the child will say, Mommy, you cannot take this phone from me. The child has grown bigger than his mother. So when she was talking, I can identify and diagnose the problem, is that she has failed as a mother. Why should a child that is in primary school be using such a big phone at that age, and then you cannot control and coordinate the child?
In primary school?
Primary school, they already have phones, and they are using phones.
But that child who responded that way to the mother is in primary school.
Primary school child is a primary school pupil.
When you gave that explanation, I was already looking at, yes, you want to come in.
When you were saying something, say the child, she cannot control that. Growing up, there's this word my mom used to tell me, that an okra does not outgrow the owner. That no matter how tall an okra is, if the owner wants to pluck from that okra, they must bend the okra, pluck, and let it go up. So as a parent, no matter how big that child is, you must bend that child. So she, as a mother, has failed. And practically part of the problem we have today in the society is because the family has failed. You might see some families complete mother and father, but yet they have failed in their responsibility. Why? Everybody is always up on the move. And once you are always on the move, you neglect or you abandon the upbringing of the child either to the housemaid or to neighbors. And before you know, they instill some negative vices in them, tell them things they are not supposed to hear. But as a parent, when you're always there, you talk with your children, engage them. Before you know, you might spot how that child behaves. Another thing also, as a parent, let your children, the friends of your children come home. There's this adage in my place that says, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So if your child has certain friends and you look at the character traits, it's not something like, you can stop that child from coming close to yours. It's as simple as that. So parenting is all-encompassing. Parenting
Holistic.
is something that must not be downplayed. So for me, with what is happening in Kano State, failed family, political undertone, I stand to be corrected because of what happened in Kano. Then hunger, anger, these are the things. Then another thing also in Kano, the rate of drug in Kano is very, very high. They have abused drugs and substances. I know when these people are high on cheap street drugs, they can do and undo.
You know, that's even still talking about the drug, we'll still channel it down back to the family.
Of course.
If it seems like everything that happens is in one way or the other channeled to the family, but how aware are the parents on the role that they have to play in shaping these children? Because when we look at the society and then we want to channel it back to failed families, then we ask questions like that. Are the parents really aware? Look at the example that Emmanuel gave now. Is that woman even aware that what she's doing has a very, grieve circumstance that could happen after that? That could be, if that's a male child, that could also affect somebody's marriage tomorrow, because that person is going to get married tomorrow and will carry that attitude of his failed parents down there. So how aware would you say our parents are in the role that they have to play in shaping the society?
There's a saying that you can't give what you don't have. Most parents themselves, they're a product of the failed family, right? The failed family system. So they give birth to children and they transfer that same failed attitude, lack of responsibility, nonchalant attitude, and they instill it in their children, either consciously or subconsciously. Now, there's this parental involvement we're talking about also have to do with the education of the child, right? There are some parents that they don't even visit their children in school, at least pay a visit to the school. Like, let me give you an example. Most young teenagers, when they're transitioning, when they're moving from secondary school to the university, to tertiary institutions, most of them, they want to explore and they want to, a bit of independence, right? So they have this freedom, they feel a false sense of freedom that want to push them to explore all kinds of things. No one cautions them when they come home. They have time, they have, they have their own apartments. Some of them in our university campuses, they are living like married couples. Go to our university campuses today. You will discover that some students are living like husband and wife. They have a lady that is living with them. If he's a male student, cooking for them, washing their clothes, doing everything. If it's just like they are living as husband and wife while they're on campus.
Sometimes
and their parents don't know anything.
Exactly, but sometimes these situations, you see that these parents raise these kids in the right way. But then they deviate, especially when it has to do with going to school.
Negative peer influence. But even if there's negative peer influence along the line, any child that is raised properly will always compare what the friends are telling them and what they were told at home. Then we're talking about parents even going to check their children in school. That one is even much. Some parents, how often do they open their children's book? Okay, the child is back. Let me look at your books. What have you done? Let me see your note, your assignment. From that way, if you notice any red flag, you can quickly rush to the school. But most parents, they are too busy, very, very busy, to even put an eye on their children. Okay, even if you're busy, let that child also have a guardian that can report to you.
Now let's look at the government now. Let's look at the role that the government has to play in cushioning the effect of, or the high rate of crime, now reducing the effect of the high rate of crime rather. Let's look at the role that they have to play. The CP has mentioned this, right? For it to be increasing in the society, everybody has the role to play. We've looked at the family now. Now the government, are they doing enough? The security agencies, are they doing enough in curbing the menace of crime?
The government, they are trying their best, but more is desired from them, because to whom much is given, much is desired. As a government, they need to increase funding for police. Once there's funding, then there'll be effective policing. And it takes vehicular movement, even machines, and otherwise. But the most important thing is that police, they have to be properly funded. Then police itself, they also need to go for proper information gathering, because the best way to fight crimes and criminality is by surveillance and information gathering. You don't wait until it occurs. If it occurs, you're no longer being proactive, but you're being reactive. And that way, it's not really good. So first, government should increase funding, then proper policing. Once they do that proper policing in terms of information gathering, identifying the flash points, you discover that most of these things will definitely be low. Then government also, there needs to be high-level advocacy. And like George said, community engagement. And the only way you can engage the community is when there's high-level advocacy system. It will take it down to the grassroots, and once it gets to the grassroots, it goes to the home.
All right, George.
Well, in addition to what our distinguished guest has also said, the government needs to realize that social injustice, rising poverty is a platform for criminality to grow. I'm not saying that everyone that is hungry becomes a criminal, but poverty drives a lot of people into crimes. It's like a recruitment center where people are recruited into crimes. Now, when you look at the demography of young people in Nigeria, we have a lot of young people that are idle. And if you're a Christian, of course, you must have read in the scripture that an idle-minded person is the devil's workshop. It means that that place, that idle mind will be filled up. There's no empty space, either a negative influence or a positive influence. So when you have a lot of jobless, idle-minded, idle young people roaming the streets, that's a recruitment base for criminality and crimes, right? Now, you ask yourself, why are many young people going into cyber crimes, which we probably call Yahoo now? Why are they going? Why are they involved? Even the ones who are very, diligent, they are not falling in, because by the time the person graduates from the university and he's not employed, no job, nothing, he came out with a very good result, a good certificate, and yet he has gone to many organizations, no job, and his friends are doing well. That becomes a motivation. He wants to fall into that line to also make it. So we can significantly reduce criminality if we address social injustice, right? As well as funding the police, as our distinguished guest said, and then equipping our security agencies with the tools and tech and training, especially in technology. We've talked so much about it. How many of our policemen are computer literate, like they can confidently operate the computer, like basic computer knowledge? How many of them can do that? How many, I remember here, one of our guests talked about how many of our police stations have a functioning computer. When you want to report a case, you don't need to be writing everything on paper. At least they have a functioning computer that you can get basic details of people. You can have a record of criminal cases that you can easily access. Someone can be in Lagos and they can easily send an information to someone in Port Harcourt, through this tech, security tech engagement, without necessarily going through a lot of process, and you can quickly track somebody. We need to build our system to that point. We have the human resources. So these are the areas that we need to address.
All right, I don't know if you mentioned, but I didn't hear you mention training for the security personnel.
Apart from training, they also need to be retrained. And training is a continuous process. Because every day there are new innovations. Every day there are new challenges. So they need to bring them up to speed. So the area or the place of training can also not be downplayed in terms of fighting crimes and criminality. So they also need adequate training.
All right.